Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this 20th. It's a Wednesday, March 2024. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Let's take a look at what's going on out there. COVID-19. Autoimmune diseases. Things like arthritis and stuff like that. Your chances go up amazingly much if you've had a bad case of COVID. And as far as the shots go and stuff, it's really, I think, about the COVID itself, your heightened risk of developing debilitating autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis. In other words, long-term suffering and after consequences of the COVID virus itself. I heard yesterday about some guy. And he was taking the shots for other people. In other words, he would get the shot and get the paper confirming he had the shot and give it to somebody who didn't want the shot. He had over 200 shots. This guy, he actually took 200 of them in the arm. He's still alive and kicking. But, oh my gosh, you imagine having the shot? What would that be, a shot a day for like a year? Anyway. So, yeah, COVID-19 severity here. It says it plays a big role. In other words, how bad do you have the COVID itself? And in my mind, I don't know what's worse, COVID shots or the whole thing. The whole COVID thing was a total nightmare for all of us. It's still there. It's not gone away. In the world here, we have a certain amount of what's called herd immunity, because we've all been plastered with it and plastered with it and plastered with it, and it builds up immunity. But immunity doesn't last forever, and this thing's not going away. I don't know what the long-term solutions are going to be. I guess that we're now, because it's endemic in the population, it's something that we're just going to kind of have to live with out there. And now, you can see which way this is all going, guys. France it says Russian intelligence has alleged that France is preparing a military contingent of 2,000 troops to be deployed on the ground in Ukraine. A claim was made by Director of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, Sergei Naryshkin, on Tuesday, and was quickly picked up in international headlines, given it's rare for him to make statements like this. 2,000 troops, a contingency, will be sent to Ukraine as prepared. Well, we don't know exactly yet. France is saying, okay. France is like, they're not saying this is. So we're going to have to wait and see if this, but it's moving in this direction. If the first NATO troops start to head in there, then now this is a question, will other countries follow? But this kind of gives us an idea which way this whole thing is heading, which way the wind's blowing. And the wind is kind of blowing is NATO does not want to surrender Ukraine, or they don't plan on surrendering Ukraine. They plan on fighting this, in every way they can. See, Charles Michael, Europe must prepare for war. Says, if Europe wants to exist in peace, it must shift to a war economy, a war economy mode, and significantly bolster defense capabilities in the face of the threat posed by Russia, European Council President Charles Michel said on March 18th. This was an op-ed published in several European newspapers. It says U.S. support can no longer be taken for granted, and EU countries need to take responsibility for their own security as they grapple with the biggest security challenge since the Second World War. Europe must prepare for war, he says. Well, they got a TikTok ban. It says why the U.S. government is proposing a separation from China and a TikTok ban. Well, this ties in. This ties into the whole war thing, and I just see. I'm just connecting all the dots in my mind here. That the war picture as it spreads out, and they already prepare ahead of time. You know, they are. General Mike Manhan already sent a memo out to his soldiers in the United States to prepare, get ready. He said fire a target and I guess pretend it's Chinese and set up a target or whatever. It's like they're preparing for a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. And they've been for quite a little while now, and they even told us when they think it's going to happen. So it doesn't surprise me that they're proposing a separation from China here. Now Biden, he warns Netanyahu against a Rafah operation, or an operation into Rafah. It's a warning to Netanyahu. As U.S. President Joe Biden warned Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday that an Israel military operation in Rafah would deepen anarchy in Gaza. It says they agreed that terms from each side would meet in Washington to discuss it, the White House said. You got wars breaking out on all fronts around the world right now, and things intensifying and heading toward a deeper crisis, this war crisis. It's not confirmed yet about, as far as I'm concerned it's not confirmed yet about the troops heading in from France into Ukraine, you know. But I can see the handwriting on the wall in all of this. Meanwhile, the United States Supreme Court is going to allow Texas to begin enforcing the controversial immigration law. Supreme Court said on Tuesday it's cleared the way for Texas to immediately begin enforcing a controversial immigration law. It allows state officials to arrest and detain people they suspect of entering the country illegally. So there you go. When they get them coming across, they're not going to be able to just walk. The Texas is going to arrest them. Now, in the markets right now, here's something I got to tell you guys. I'm going to turn to the gold page right here. Here's what I got to say about all this is we're at an inflection point right now with the Fed, and we're kind of at a turning point here with all this. They come on strong and hit the pedal to try to destroy inflation. They created a little bit of disinflation. But now the Fed is starting to say, hey, you know what? That 2% target, oh, by the way, maybe now it's going to be 2.8% instead of 2%. The 2% inflation target. Well, yeah, now it's 2.8%, more or less. I mean, that's not official, but that's what I've heard through the grapevine. 2.8%. Soon it'll be 3.8%, and then 6%, and then 12%, and then 20%. This is the way it goes. Inflation's 1. Okay, it hasn't been written on the scoreboard yet that inflation is 1, but inflation is 1, and right now we're at this inflection point where the Fed's trapped. Of course, you've all heard that before. You've heard that one before. They're trapped in the effect that they cannot let deflation get out of control. And right now we're at that inflection point where there's deflation in parts of the system because of what they did with raising rates. But we also got the inflation that's cooled off is starting to level off and it's going to start to heat back up again. Why did that page go off on me? Never asked me, it just did it. Okay, it's back. Gold right now is $21.55. It's down $1.60. Silver is $24.84, and it's down 2 pennies. So there's gold and silver, and gold and silver's doing good. Anyway, what I was talking about here is the inflation is just at the starting gate right now, really. Because the Fed's done their big effort to try to stop it, and they've failed. So now, because of the deflation parts in the system that they caused, the deflationary parts in the system, things like the banks are in trouble. We've got that $1 trillion bill. It's a deflation. It's all about deflation in the commercial real estate. Over $1 trillion now. And the banks have got to make up for that. So that's a deflation part in the system right out there right now. That's a problem for the Fed. And so they cannot continue to push the accelerator forward because of that problem. It'll intensify it greatly. And so what they have to do is they have to ease off the accelerator. But if they ease off the accelerator, inflation's going to start to take off. But they're going to ease off the accelerator now. And this is the indicator. 2, maybe 3 rate cuts coming in 2024. What do you think the rate cuts, when they start to hit, is going to do? If they start to cut rates this year to inflation. Inflation's just going to heat up until the point where people say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out and purchase that because it's like it's on sale. Because if I wait 6 months, it's like I got it on sale. That's what's coming. Prepare for it, because it's going to run away at a certain point. It's going to be a massive move into inflation at a certain point. And you got to start thinking in those terms. You got to adjust your thinking. You got to start thinking, hey, I can't save money in the bank anymore. And so if I want savings, I got to use an instrument that's not fiat. But then you start thinking, hey, what is there out there? A saving instrument that's not connected to fiat, and it's that's not going to be tied into the banking system where I have third-party risk. And boy, gosh, you sure does narrow down real quick to what you can go out there and actually get that's not connected to fiat. It's really only cryptocurrencies and gold and silver. And when you start to really analyze that, you start to say to yourself, hey, you know what? Cryptocurrencies, that's risky. Really risky. So what's left? Gold and silver. Or maybe if you want to go out and buy a whole bunch of copper from a scrapyard or something, that's great too. I think that's going to have a huge... I mean, if a guy wanted to take all of his money out of the bank and go to the scrapyard, and if he got a good price on scrap silver, not silver, but scrap copper, if you got a place to put it, it would be the poor man's silver. You know, I mean, I shouldn't say poor man's silver. It cost you a pretty penny if you wanted to get a ton of copper and put it away in your garage. But it might be a damn good investment coming up. So not just gold and silver, you know. But, I mean, if you're starting thinking, hey, I'm going to put all pennies away, you know, in my garage, be careful, because a lot of them are made of zinc. They're not made of copper, a lot of them. So you got to be careful of that. Okay. Crude oil today. You know, things like copper pipes, you know. Copper pipe from the scrapyards, and copper wire, if it's all been nice and clean, you can tell by looking at it it's the real copper. But and anytime you buy metals, you got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing and know you're getting a real metal. especially because it comes to buying silver. Listen, guys, you never get a bargain on silver. If some guy's trying to give you 20% off the price of silver or something, and it's a bargain, you're buying it down a back alley and whatever, it's probably Chinese brass coated with silver. Yeah, that's where it generally comes from. Some of these Asian countries and stuff create a lot of fake silver, and it's very hard to distinguish it. There's a number of tests you can do if you know what you're doing. A ping test is one. Another one is a magnet test. There's a number of tests that can be performed to prove it's real silver. But, if you were to take it out and put a drill bit on it and drill into it, and all of a sudden you see brass, your heart just sinks if you buy it. Anyway, bonds and rates today. I state the Dow is up 20 points, and oil is down $1.87 at 81.60. And taking a look at the bonds and rates today, we're looking at the U.S. 10-year at 4.27. It's down 1.7 basis points, and the U.S. 30 years at 4.42, and it's down 1.3 or 1.4 basis points. So we got falling yields today on the long end. The only one that's not is the U.S. 4-month. It's up. The Dixie today, the dollar index is 103.99 today. I could almost say it is going up, but very slowly today. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.